Day 25.
August 30th, 1983. Guy Bluford, becomes first black astronaut launched into space aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger.
September 12th, 1992. Mae Jemison becomes first black female astronaut in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
As a young boy, Guy Bluford enjoys building model airplanes and dreams of one day building real ones.
Mae Jemison is born in the 10th month, October, on the 17th, in 1956.
Guy is born on November 22, 1942. 9 months after the Tuskegee Airmen become the first all-black flying unit.
9th grade. Mae enters high school at age 12.
Guy is chosen as part of NASA Group 8, the first class of orbiting space shuttle astronauts. Some 8,000 applied. 35 were accepted, including Guy and 2 other black astronauts.
Mae begins taking dance class at 8 years old. Learns she is afraid of heights when taking the elevated train to class in Chicago.
Guy was a test pilot for 7 different types of aircraft.
Mae skipped the 7th grade because she read at college level.
Guy spends 6 days orbiting in space.
In 6th grade, Mae spends hours in the library studying space.
Guy is one of 5 astronauts on board the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Age 5, Mae declares she wants to be a scientist when she grows up. Don't you mean a nurse? Her kindergarten teacher says. No, I mean a scientist, Mae says.
Guy has 4 college degrees, a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in aerospace engineering, and a master of business administration.
4th grade. Mae cuts her hair into a short afro. Since not many had the hairstyle, and she was tall, she was often confused for a boy.
Guy is the oldest of 3 boys.
3rd grade. Mae begins a science project called Eras of Time. Completes it in the 6th grade.
Guy was a Boy Scout and achieved the ranking of Star Scout, just 2 below the highest ranking of Eagle Scout.
Mae has 2 older siblings, Ada Sue and Ricky.
Guy Bluford is the first black to launch into space.
Mae Jemison is the first black female to launch into space.
Guy Bluford logged 688 hours in space and retired from NASA and the Air Force in 1993. He was inducted into the International Space Hall of Fame in 1998. Mae Jemison logged 190 hours in space in her only mission. She left NASA in 1993 to pursue a private career in the sciences.
I grew up in the 60s I lived on the south side of Chicago, and I was a young girl who loved to stare up at the stars. I imagined myself going there. I studied all the things about the Apollo program. I knew what mission was going to take place when, what it was supposed to accomplish. I decided to go to medical school because I wanted to do something called biomedical engineering. While I was in medical school, I had the opportunity to go and work in a Cambodian refugee camp. I went on to study group in Cuba. I worked with the flying doctors in East Africa. But I still wanted to go into space, so I applied. I picked up the phone. I called down to Johnson Space Center. I said, I would like an application to be an astronaut. They didn't laugh. I turned in the application. There may be a certain naivete when I say, when I applied to the astronaut program, I didn't even think about the fact of whether I would be the first African-American woman in space or anything like that. It didn't even cross my, I wanted to go into space. I couldn't have cared if there had been 1,000 people in space before me or whether there had been none. I wanted to go. I thought it was important to take to space with me things that represented people who sometimes are not included. So I took a poster of Mae Jemison performing the dance cry. I took up a Bundu statue, which was for the Women's Society in West Africa. I took up a flag for the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the oldest African-American women's sorority in the United States, because they hadn't been included, and I thought that was an important thing to do. For me, the experience was one that made me feel very connected with the universe. I felt that my being was as much a part of this universe as any star, as any comet. It helped me to recognize that right now, we're in space. This Earth is part of that universe. That was my grand connection. And then I looked down and I saw Chicago. I thought about the little girl who had assumed she would go into space. What would my younger self have thought if she met me? And I think she would have been tickled.